Joining us now, former acting U.S. Attorney General under former President Trump, he's Matthew Whitaker. So we just heard that story, right, Matthew? It's good to have you back on. President Biden and the Democrats, remember in the social justice riots of 2020, 40 people killed, taxpayer dollars, and, just destroyed trying to rebuild multiple businesses, $2 billion in damages there. Now a new CNN poll, just a third says Biden deserves to be reelected. A majority of Democrats, 54%, say they don't want to see him in 2024.
Yeah, Liz, it's good to be with you. And, with rising crime in our major cities as the backdrop for a suffering economy, I think there's no doubt that most Americans don't think Joe Biden's America is the one they want to live in. And it shouldn't be our future. We should have, like we had during President Trump, which was, low taxes, low gas prices, low inflation, a sound dollar, strong foreign policy. We weren't getting into new wars. And I think there's just a lot of that record to be acclaimed. And in this case, our modern America, people are afraid. They're afraid for a lot of different reasons. And it's all Joe Biden's fault. It lays at his feet. And hopefully the American people will deliver a verdict in 2024.
But then there's a story that, that Democrats do want Trump to succeed so he could take on Biden and then Biden would win again.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, Donald Trump is going to campaign. He's going to campaign strong across this country. I mean, obviously places like New York and California are lost. Those people are hopeless and I think are having a hard time and struggling right now. But most of America, places where I'm from, like Des Moines, Iowa, they support Donald Trump and what his policies were. And I think those conservative policies that have worked for generations, that Ronald Reagan taught us best, are the ones that are going to take the United States of America into the next 100 years of our future. If not, it's going to be a real struggle in Joe Biden's America and what liberals want.
Trump voters keep telling us time and again that the former President Trump loves this country, that he wants to fix the country, that he wants to fight for America. And the sensibility, and you heard it from that mom on their top of the block saying basically her son, an Army veteran, just murdered back in the streets of New York City after he served in Afghanistan. The feeling is that who loves America, right? And the feeling is that President Biden and the Democrats are doing things to just rip the country apart. Now we have new House Oversight Chair James Comer revealing at least 2 local GOP prosecutors are looking at ways to probe and charge President Biden and his family. Watch this.
I had 2 calls yesterday, one from a county attorney in Kentucky and one from a county attorney in Tennessee. They were Republican, obviously, both states are heavily Republican. They want to know if there are ways they can go after the Bidens now.
Here's what I hope happens next, Sean. I earnestly hope that conservative prosecutors in rural areas of America indict Bill Clinton, indict Hillary Clinton, indict Hunter Biden. The only way to stop this and return to the norms is for one side to realize if they go too far, the other will match them.
Now, this analysis coming in, Matthew, one avenue is that the Bidens did not pay state taxes for the millions of dollars they got on oil and gas deals within state borders involving states like Louisiana and Texas. Remember, there was that report that the Biden family was working on natural gas deals out of 5 U.S. states to China and other overseas nations.
Yeah, well, I don't think this tit for tat is a great policy long term. There's no doubt that fire needs to be met with fire. And if they're going to use specious charges in New York State to go after Donald Trump, then any prosecutor across the country with legitimate claims against anyone in the Biden family, and quite frankly, any politician that is, I guess, inconsistent with the law. But again, this is a zero-sum game, and I think the left continues to escalate this. I think those of us that are rule of law conservatives, like myself, just can't believe the America we're in. We can't believe that prosecutors are willing to play partisan politics and make it criminal. But if this is the world we live in, then we're going to have to play the game because, if we don't, then they are going to prosecute us into oblivion. And the left has opened up this avenue and this field of battle, and I think the right needs to respond. But again, all these claims, if they're brought, I'm telling you, they have to be legitimate claims, because I'm afraid that if they're not, then this is going to ruin our country.
Separate from that, the mom we just had at the top of the block, again, her son murdered in New York City. Basically he's an Afghanistan Army veteran. He was stabbed to death. Now we have the Biden White House blaming Trump for the chaotic Afghanistan exit and saying they're proud of how they handled it. 13 troops were killed there, 9,000 Americans stranded, 175 still left behind. How can they still be proud of it?
No, this is the greatest gaslight in American history. You know, Donald Trump would have had an orderly withdrawal from Afghanistan. He had plans to get all of our equipment back and to take the military out last. And we would not have lost those honorable troops if Donald Trump was in charge. But, you know, this is the problem with liberal policies, is they have turned their backs on police. The crime is out of control in our major cities, and it's their policies that are ruining our country, especially our major cities.
Got it. Matthew Whitaker, thanks for joining us. It's good to see you.